state-sponsored terror, how U.S. forces became extensions of Israeli power as America continues to wage wars that serve foreign interests. Few realize just how deeply Israeli intelligence and military doctrine have embedded themselves into our own systems. The truth is not just that we support Israel, it's that we operate as their enforcers, adopting their training, their surveillance methods, and their covert tactics for use both abroad and inside the United States. I know this because I was trained by them. The terror immersion program, which I attended, was not designed by the U.S. military. It was run by former El Al security operatives, Israeli military officers, and Shin Bet agents, not former in the sense that they had truly left their service, but rather, operating as contractors who still had real-time access to Israeli intelligence networks. Their role was not just to train us but to reshape our entire understanding of warfare and security through an Israeli lens. From the outset, it was clear that this was not about protecting the United States. We were not being trained to fight radical Islam. We were being trained to enforce Israeli military doctrine against any force that threatened their global objectives. We were told outright that the biggest danger was not an Islamic terrorist cell but a stable, secular Arab state with the power to resist foreign control. We were trained in covert infiltration, false flag operations, urban sabotage, and assassination techniques. These were not defensive maneuvers. They were offensive methods of destabilization, designed to subvert and control populations while keeping American fingerprints off the operations. One of the most shocking parts of this training was bomb making. We were taught how to assemble explosives using commonly available materials, including TAP, known as the Palestinian Devil. And this wasn't happening in some war zone. This was happening on American soil. We were conducting live penetration drills inside the United States, including inside shopping malls. The only difference between these drills and an actual terrorist attack was that we weren't using live explosives. The infrastructure, the planning, the execution, all of it was real. We were explicitly told that if we were arrested, we were to say nothing, and the army would handle it. And they did. Multiple participants were detained, but none were ever charged. Now, ask yourself, how hard would it be for these same tactics to be used for real? People scoff at the idea that something like the Las Vegas Tesla truck bombing or the New Orleans operation involving Green Berets could be the result of an inside operation. But why? We were running these exact types of drills inside the U.S. years before any of these events happened. The Defense Intelligence Agency oversees these programs, and through their command structure, Israeli intelligence receives everything. They have trained with every G-affiliated unit in the country. They know how we operate. They have all the data. The Pennsylvania Trump shooter's ID and the signature of U.S. military training take, for example, the ID found in the trunk of the Pennsylvania Trump shooter's vehicle. That device was rigged, but the remote detonation receiver was switched off. That's a signature mistake, one that happens when operators are trained first in closed-circuit detonation before transitioning to transponder-based remote detonation. The error is common because, in the training process, many forget to switch the receiver on. That's not the mistake of some random domestic extremist. That's a training error from someone who has learned explosive handling through structured military instruction. And then there's Fort Bragg. It has been revealed that the shooters and several involved individuals had contacts at Fort Bragg. Anyone who understands the Special Forces community knows what that means. Fort Bragg is home to the most clandestine military operations in the country. If you want to find the command structure that oversees covert domestic targeting, Bragg is where you start. The reality is we were running these operations inside the U.S. long before any of these attacks ever happened. The drones now flying over American cities? They are not foreign threats. They are ours. The government is conditioning the population to accept them under the guise of external threats, but in reality, they will be used for domestic surveillance, control, and, eventually, targeted elimination. The Israeli role in the Mexican cartel wars, who is really in control? And let's not forget the cartels. Israel has complete access to intelligence on cartel operations. The Pegasus spyware program, developed by Israel's NSO group, has been used by Mexican cartels for years to track and assassinate journalists, political opponents, and rival factions. Israel knows exactly where every major cartel leader is at all times. They know where the drugs flow. They know how weapons are moved. And yet, they provide the U.S. with nothing. Donald Trump has spoken of a war on the cartels, in which Israel would be indispensable. How? Israel already possesses the intelligence to shut down the cartels overnight, yet they have refused to share it, because they do not want the cartel war to end. Instead, they train the very enforcers who commit the cartel's most heinous acts. The dismemberments, the acid baths, the public executions, these are not random acts of savagery. They are trained techniques. And who trained them? Israeli military contractors. If Israel was truly an ally, this would not be happening. They would not be allowing the cartels to use their spyware to assassinate journalists. They would not be training cartel members in the same covert elimination methods they teach U.S. soldiers. But they are. And they do nothing to stop it. Because they are not our allies. The end game. The world turns against us as the United States continues to support Israel in its destruction of Gaza, its expansion into Lebanon, and its inevitable push for full-scale war across the Arab world. We are walking into a trap. The Arab nations are uniting against us. The world is condemning us. And the entire planet is preparing to make us irrelevant. If America continues to stand by Israel no matter what crimes it commits, we will become pariahs. And when that happens, Israel will discard us. Because we were never the ones in control. The choice before us, we have a choice. We can wake up, reclaim our sovereignty, and stop fighting Israel's wars. Or we can continue to be their executioners, until the world turns on us completely. The world is watching. And if this is what we stand for, we deserve what comes next.